Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to Between the Lines. I'm Abira Bukhari, and today I'm honored to have Islam Han Saab with me. Thank you for joining in, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. The book that
Thank you, Mira. Nice to meet you after a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, sir. Sir, which book are we discussing today? Would you please tell us?
That's a Palestinian fiction. Susan Abul Hawa. She is a Palestinian American novelist, and her novel Against the Loveless World that was published in 2019. So we can say that's one of her recent novels, and she is the most impressive voice of Palestinian fiction. Earlier, her two novels, Mornings in Janin and The Blue Between the Sky and the Water, they have been highly important. But there's a novel which we will discuss today, and it covers a particular, you can say, age group of Palestinian that's from late 70s to second Intifada. I mean, in the beginning of 21st century. So there's the third generation of Palestinian which we are actually discussing, and they are expressing themselves through the narrator's voice. Narrator is Nahar.
So, sir, do you think that Susan Abul Hawa moved from the outside world or the experience of the refugee to the inner workings of the refugee? Like Neher tells us the story, she begins from her early childhood. In the beginning, we see her in the queue. She tells us how the cube looks and how she's sitting or being tied. And then she goes on to describe her childhood, how she was when I think they take us back to when she was 16. And then we go ahead knowing that her mother and her grandmother too had been refugees. And they had a tradition of that. But now this very author takes us from the outer experience to the inner, to the emotional side of the refugee, which I hadn't read about before. And having read this book made me psychologically really upset because it has a lot of violence and it began with sexual violence, and I think violence is it's replete with that. What do you think?
Yes, actually, uh, every novel has its own frame. So here is a frame, and there's the solitary confinement. There's a cell which is named Q, and here we see the narrator, the main character Nahar, most of the time. Apart from last few, you can say chapters or sections of the last chapters, she has been in the queue, and rest of the things they are flashbacks, and then she is shared. In fact,
Sorry to cut you short. The cube is then a prison, but also a prison. What do you think it is?
I think it's it had, on one side there's queue for the tractor Nara, but on the other side you can say there's a queue for the Palestinian, and queue for the Palestinian is the world around where they are actually living without their recognition. Recognition, I mean, they don't exist on map, but they exist everywhere. They exist around the globe. So, Palestinian diaspora is a reality. And it's strange that the people who have a country, but they are not living in their own country, and they, you can say significant number of them, even more than half, they are living beyond their land, and still they are returning to their land. They belong to it, and they cannot get rid of it.
Yeah, they're trying to find a sense of belonging. So there's this thing जैसे उखाड़ दें लेकिन इंसान अपनी रूट्स को याद करता रहे और एक लॉन्गिंग टू बी बैक होम, एक ऐसे होम में जो एग्जिस्ट करता ही नहीं है.
Yes, it exists, we can say, in different ways. For instance, Nara's grandma, City was fair. she actually ceased to live when they migrated from Palestine to Kuwait. And that was in, you can say, after uh, 1967 Israel-Palestine conflict, and there was Exodus, which is called Naksa. And that was a great setback for second generation of Palestinians. But for the first generation, even they are no more making any new memory. They are living, but their living or their presence doesn't matter to them. So Siti Westphia, she lives in her, you can say, past. And that past is, that's a city, Anil Sultan. Anil Sultan, you can say, it may be a legend to many, but at least to this character, that's the reality and it's everything to her. And she even feels then when she compares Anil Sultan with Haifa, she feels that the more real is Anil Sultan. So that's one way of you can say living outside the country. And other is Nahar's parents, Rashida and her husband Nabil. Rashida is a lady who actually had no, you can say, national communal caste in the beginning. And she had, you can say, romantic dreams of, you can say, that was a love marriage, and there were aspirations who lived a life which everyone actually wished when they are young. But what she gets, she is actually pushed to reality, which is quite bitter. And she has conceived a girl, Nahar, and she has to leave her hometown Haifa, and first they move to Jordan and then Kuwait, and they settle over there. And she cannot engage with that country as she does with her Palestine. And her experience is strange. There are pictures of her family. So there is a frozen, you can say, prime beauty of Palestine, which actual reality to this lady. And third one is Nahar and her brother Jihad. They were not born in Palestine. They were born in Kuwait, and they were raised up there. And to everyone, they are Palestinian. And they are discriminated because the people around think that Palestinians are refugees, they are poor, they are cheap laborers, and there are many stigmas about that. So they feel hurt because people are not actually ready to receive them or imagine them as they are. They are trying to believe whatever they think about them, they should be like that. And from, you can say, school days, we have seen different incidents where this girl, Nahal, feels discontented and she has many quarrels, and all the time she has to say that she has no idea of Palestine, she has not visited there, and she has not lived there. But
sir, I think there's this quiet resistance that she has always been a part of, even when she doesn't know that, whatever she's doing is a part of something big. And I think, as the name suggests, Nahar, she flows.
yes,
Yeah.
she flows that project.
I think the question of identity comes in here. Homi Babas in his The Location of Culture says that one's identity is formed in the third space. And that third space is the place of becoming. The in-betweenness, the process whereby you're neither here nor there. There's this space between जो आपकी sense of, existence को बना रही है. तो आप ना एक जगह एग्जिस्ट करते हो ना दूसरी जगह, और आइडेंटिटी फ्लूइड है क्योंकि, तो इसका इवन नहर का कैरेक्टर भी फिक्स्ड है ही नहीं. हम देखते हैं उसको नहर भी कह रहे हैं, पेपर्स में याकूत है वो, फिर एक पॉइंट पे जो प्रोस्टिट्यूशन में होती है तो फिर वहाँ पे अल्मास है उसका नाम. तो इवन लेबलिंग वाली चीज भी, नेमिंग वाली ही, वो सारा आइडेंटिटी को तो बिल्कुल शैटर कर देती है ना.
yes, fixed identity is resisted. And you can say Nehru is a person with how we can relate a lot. Uh, Authenticity and relatability. These are two, you can say, great force of this novel, I can say. And she apparently, you can say, she belongs to a heritage which her mother is very much proud of, and through her embroidery she actually has built, you can say, an artistic, I should say, artistic connection with Palestine. And a father is also conscious about this relation, Palestine and Palestinian, and grandma I have just mentioned. But she is not actually behaving in this way. There is nothing unnatural, there is nothing prescribed, and that's the lived experience. And lived experience is, they are Palestinians, but they are not stagnant. They they are interacting with realities. They are uh, uh, actually living like other human beings, and even they have no, you can say, idealism or no, nothing like that which can be attained, you can say, in sense of a cause or in sense of, you can say, any goal. There is nothing fixed like that. And her experience actually leads from one to another. Right. So gradually she, uh, unconsciously, or you can say in an unplanned manner, she finally, she actually touches the core. That core is which actually moves her heart, and that moment she meets her soulmate, I should say, Bilal.
Yeah. But I think by the time she meets Bilal, she is complete within herself. Because formerly, when she gets married to Muhammad, right? Um, there's this destruction of the self that we see, right? When she thinks she is not wanted, valued, we get to hear the name of Tamara, right? There. And it hits me to think that all that time, Neher was thinking that maybe Tamara is a girl that her husband loved. And, you know, her position or a standing that she had, she just feels placeless there and then. That, oh, I thought I'd be valued, but no, this is not so. And then her husband just walks away. And moving on in life, she meets Barak, and that woman drags her into things that she never imagined of. But she relates to Barak then. And she's like, okay, इसने भी सफर किया है, तो हाँ ये भी समझती है मेरी plight. या इसके साथ भी ऐसा हो गया तो इसको पता है कि मैं किस चीज से गुजर रही हूँ. So there's this sisterhood जो communitas एक टर्म है कि जो सफर करते हैं. सफरिंग एक तरह से जोड़ती है लोगों को. सो हालांकि मोरली तो बहुत गलत सा मैसेज आता है ना कि ये क्या है, लेकिन ह्यूमैनिटी बहुत ज्यादा है इस.
Can see there's another dimension of homosocial contact, and there is no judgment, no judgmental behavior, and just there's empathy, I should say. They can understand each other, and they shouldn't understand with their social introduction. Social introduction of Umi Burak is, you can say, disgusting and despising, but the core of her lady, that inspires her, because we see Umi Burak, that's, you can say, that's her mean of income, the prostitution she had girls, and she used them for that mean. But on the other side, she actually is providing shelter to many, and there is uh, a girl who is her bae from India. She is supporting her a lot, and even for the stranger, she, you can say, the hard-earned money, I should say, she spends on that meal.
But so she also punishes her husband Ajay in a way that, she deducts money and saves it for Deepa. And then when Deepa and Ajay have to move off, she gives the money to Deepa that I saved it for you. I mean, she's so kind. And the emotion that comes along.
But she is very pragmatic too.
Yeah.
But she are both great, I guess. So Nehar actually develops that sisterhood, and even there was no planet. There had been, you can say, efforts to have distance with that woman. But ultimately, in her, you can say, last episode when Brock is diagnosed with cancer, then uh, the way Nehal acts, it was, you can say, reciprocal to earlier kindness of Brock. So both actually helped each other, both support each other, but there was nothing intentional, pre-planned. There was nothing like that. That's spontaneous. So spontaneity and you can say organic behavior, I should say, they are the qualities of that girl Neher. And Neher actually inspires on, you can say, on multiple levels. And we see that even she doesn't hate those people whom she hates. I mean, she when she is in prison, there is a character. She is a Russian Israeli girl, Clara, I think is her name, and she builds some sort of friendship with her. And even there is a journalist who visits her, and she is interested to not only in her story, rather you can say interaction with Nahar. So Nahar is a person who has, you can say, some magnetic force, and the people turn to her. And she actually has opened a world for herself, and also for those who actually departmentalize, or you can say confine people with, you can say, any label. She is resisting all labels. She is resisting, you can say, all boundaries. And in this way, she is offering. And uh, 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 I repeat, that's not only personal, what she offered. Means, you can say, essential goodness of an is there. And that's also, you can say, something unique to Palestinian people, which actually she embodies.
Hmm. That truly is the case. Because I think love and kindness is the force that keeps people going. और इस नॉवल में स्पेसिफिकली सेब फॉर अदर को कॉन्सेप्ट हेट्रेड का करके नहीं है. जस्ट इट्स लाइक उस इमोशन से नफरत करें जो गलत है, उन लोगों से नहीं जो उस इमोशन को कंटेन करते हैं. यू गेटिंग इट? जैसे हम कहीं भी इसराइलीज के अगेंस्ट वो सोच रहे हैं, तो हाँ, कोई भी कुछ भी कर सकता है कमिट, राइट? लेकिन आप उस जज्बे से उस नेगेटिव चीज को देखें ना बुरी तरह. तो नहर में और स्पेशली इस नॉवल में थ्रू आउट हम ये चीज देखते हैं कि वो इमोशन एक तरह से चलता ही जा रहा है कि दे आर देयर और फीलिंग्स एंड नहीं हो रही हैं. तो आई थिंक लव काइंडनेस दैट इज ऑल्सो फॉर्म ऑफ रेजिस्टेंस इन अ वे कि इट इज ऑलवेज देयर.
Yes, love is the basic message, and love is equated with hope in this novel. Hope is the basic message, and hope, you can say, make them resilient. So, hope and resilience through love. That's the essence of this novel. So, Nahar, uh, sorry, when she is in prison, she recalls how you can say life at Palestine. That was, you can say, a brief episode when she lives there, and she discovers Bilal and Bilal's family and the people around, and she joins the mission for a time, and they have experienced that there are people and Israeli people, I mean Jews mostly, and they were less as human and the more an agent of a particular state, and they are engaged, you can say, in expanding their colonies and settlements, and for that purpose they are making constructions, and the you can say uh, irrigation water that's actually for gardens and fields of figs and olive, that is actually turned towards these newly constructed colonies. And these people less, or you can say least, live with that land, the people, trees, plants, even the air. And on the other side, these are the Palestinians who live in the very air, and they breathe actually in their soil, and they own its trees, plants, roads, structures, people, and everything they own it. And there is no nothing like good or bad. I mean, even in Palestinian society, the people they have behavior which may be called undesirable, but that's part of that. And but these people are human. I mean Palestine. On the other side, the agent of a state, they are more, you can say, like robot, and there is some sort of, you can say, anxiety, which is not much depicted in the novel, and we hardly see there, but there is a character, and that character is a General Atama. And Muhammad and Atama, they actually became, you can say, an instrument of Israeli state project. And state project was to grow love artificially. And that was Palestinian children and Israeli children, they should be kept together in boarding. They should be raised on several standards, and ultimately they will fall in love with each other. And we see that they have done. There is, you can say, homosexual bond of Itamar and Muhammad, but both of them are leading an uneasy, traumatic life. And even Nahar, she laughs at this situation that she is in prison, and Tamara is also a princess. Tamara is like, "Kibaliti?" Yes. We, meal, and we hardly actually realize the true feelings of that man who is enjoying the prestigious position in Israeli state. But still he misses something in his life. Perhaps these people are actually supposed to act that's not natural. They have to pretend. And perhaps that pretension is also damaging their souls. Otherwise, you see that there is nothing attitude, nothing anti-Semitism in this novel. And uh,
That's what I meant by the fact that there's no hatred. You won't see it there. It's like, okay, there's no idea of self and the other. It's just like you're just pushing yourself and there's resistance all along, but there's no hatred.
yeah,
So resistance that comes without hatred is the best. And I think Suzanne has portrayed it wonderfully. I mean, I couldn't expect anybody writing this way where you don't say words of hate for somebody else.
for enemy.
Yeah.
Because the people, they have deprived them of their land, their homes have been demolished. You can say that's a very traumatic. And it's not once. It has happened again and again. One generation has paid the price, second, third, and you can say it's endless. Still, it's ongoing. But even then, the people who are resisting, they are not actually treating them as, you can say, object of hate. So,
And even Neher and Bilal being chased because, oh, the soldiers found out that they were using the water pipeline. And then Neher finds out that, oh, she's been termed terrorist just because they were using the water pipeline. And then you get to see, oh, how is the media portraying people and who defines people, who is doing the labeling, who gives the narrative. And I think even this writer, I don't know if you'd agree or not, but I think that she's writing from the tower. She's not fully there, but she's still not absent from the scene. But she is an American Palestinian writer, mind you, sir.
yes, yes.
And
When she, in her interview, she admitted it. That's not the things she has experienced living there. There's her extended family which actually share their stories. So she has connection with it, but everything is now her own experience. Though this novel claims, you can say, testimony, in that's based on truth, and that's verifiable truth, and we can say uh, it's not just imagination.
Yeah, it's not obviously.
Uh, but there's not 100% autobiography.
Yes, obviously. The experiences and the things stated, they have existed because in the acknowledgement section in the book, Suzanne writes about the people she met and interviewed and then wrote certain things down. Although, but she writes, oh, they do not want to be named. They don't want me to mention them. When you hear somebody saying something and then saying, okay, mujhe mention nahi karna, so there's again something, a kind of danger that comes with commitment, maybe. That if you say something, you want to say that thing, but you don't want your name in. Even then, I think there's this form of, your position is at stake there.
But fiction has their space. In fiction, you can say, you can change the name, you can even um, change the places and situations. So, story may be there, but in a fictional way.
So when we see Neher explaining events, there's this coherence that's there. So actually, a lot has been edited to give us the version or to give the world the version that the world would accept. Because what comes out is exactly what people want. There are ideologies, sir.
At least there is the idea of potential reader. And potential reader, you can say, is in the mind of the author. And the author has actually given that preference. I mean, actually, a writer is not writing in Arabic language. For Palestinian Arabs, or you can say a larger Arab community, she's not writing for them. I think her major writers are English readers.
Yeah.
Major readers are English readers. And these English readers are across the globe. They are in Europe, they are in America, Canada, South Asia, everywhere. Whoever can read English, they can read Susan's now. So that reader has two, you can say, curiosity, two forms of curiosity. One is to know about Palestine, and other is there is a desire to present their case with objectivity. So, and both you can say they are paradoxical. Is we take one, we have to compromise them. But it seems writer has created a base.
Yeah, and it's smartly done. The choice is still there.
I would like to say one thing. Nahar is also writing, you can say, some sort of diary, or you can say memoir, because she is using, you can say, paper in her cell, and she has written it. And in the last chapter, she made certain comments about her writing, why she has done it. And she is not actually aware of it, what's its purpose. And she makes different, you can say, continuing statements. And one of the statement is to inject love, perhaps. Another statement is there may be an attempt to recall Bilal and reconnect with Bilal. So, in this way, we can say there may be an unexpressed desire of the author to reconnect with her lead. The way you can say Nahar wants to reconnect with Bilal, so Susie May wants to reconnect with Rust.
Huh. I didn't think about that though. So, what do you think about the title?
Title of this novel is a borrowed statement, a borrowed phrase, I can say. They're from the writing of American civil rights activist James Baldwin. And James Baldwin wrote an essay that was, in fact, a letter to his nephew. And in that letter, he actually shared a statement. I would like to read from the book. You know, there will be more accuracy. Mr. Baldwin tells Big James is his nephew. Here you were to be loved. To be loved, baby, hard at once and forever. To strengthen you against the loveless world. And here we see the context. Context is African American. They are struggling against the white Americans in America, and they are actually struggling for the civil rights, and there is no desire to hate them. Just there is a desire to get a recognition of African American identity and access to their civil rights, and they have, you can say, a message of love as a uniting force. And that's one community that has been victim, and probably it is no more victim, or it is not victim in the sense as it has been in the 19th century and earlier. So there are many, you can say, other communities who had been target of different types of injustice and inequality, that may be colonial forces, or that may be imperialism or something like that. And even within a society, there are many, you can say, violent and hegemonic forces that may be, but reality there, that you can say that is, we can say, uh, a toxic force for rest of the gender, I should say. And there is, we can say, class issue, or even over the centuries, the one way or the other, the people had been excluded, segregated, marginalized, and even they have been given least chances to uh, stand for themselves. In modern world, these are trying to do so, and uh, in their own way, they are making their efforts. But this novel makes an invisible bond of these communities, like African American communities and Palestinians, or it may be, you can say, the minorities across the world, they are suppressed, or it may be those gender that are victim of patriarchy, or that may be, you can say, the peasants, laborers, and others who have been with exploitation of feudalism, or you can say capitalist policies. So, or they may be united under one umbrella, and that umbrella is reflected in this law against the loveless word. Against the loveless word is, I repeat, to be loved, baby, hard at once and forever. So, to love and to be loved. That's a thing, and that's a recognition which Bilal also makes when he is actually reading this text to his, you can say, uh, comrades, I should say, because they are actually engaged in the mission and they're supporting him. And he's, you can say, inspiring them that they have something. And he claimed that he has not been denied of love, and he appreciates that love. Mean the world is hostile. Bilal's world is probably more hostile than Nahar's. But Bilal all the time remains, can say, optimistic, and he thinks in this way that he always actually believes what he has been blessed, what he has been given, rather than whatever he has been denied and deprived. So that positivistic mentality of character, we can say that's an expectation for those who claim to be resilient or claim to stand against oppression. They have to be something like that.
Yeah. And this is your favorite quotation or part of the book.
Oh, yes, this line you can say that inspires me a lot. There are certain others as well. Bilal actually, uh, you can say, makes connection in different ways, and one of them is chaos theory.
Yeah.
And
The website.
he out of chaos, he finds something coherent. So he tries to realize others that chaotic doesn't mean random, and because there may be something random and it may be predicted, and there we can say there's a fixity of thought that is broken in you can say a discussion of Bilal with these contexts, and these are the things which are actually performed by Nahr and somehow by her brother as well, because he also does not take the well trodden path that was actually her career as a medical doctor. But you can say that it's a political situation of the time that he is falsely accused and he is put into prison in Kuwait, and he's tried hard, and even uh, there is a permanent mark of disability with him, and you can say the future doctor is turned into a gardener. But that gardener, as well as a software engineer, I should say, uh, he, you can say, makes another path. So there is no complaint. Most important thing is,
Yeah.
these people are not complaining. They are not asking for help. Even. So uh, they are making their own way, and they are actually facilitating their uh, people around. So that's the essence of love, which is, you can say, claimed in title, which is claimed by James Baldwin and practiced by these PPFs.
And sir, how about the end? Now, when Meher tells us how she was taken away and then she sings in the court and she's always imagining that Bilal is there. And then later on, we realize that, okay, she's going to get released now. She gets sent to Jordan. And by the end of the book, she's out of the prison. And we get to know, which again made me really happy, कि हाँ Bilal जिंदा है. And through the letter, we get to know, okay, he exists and he has sent that letter to her. So usko ek sense ho jati hai कि भाई ये है Bilal, he's still there. So there's still hope, there's still, kindness. And I think as we move along with the story of Neher, we are left with a thing that anything can be occupied but humanity cannot be occupied. So with this, we end this, and thank you so much for being here. It is great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vita. Thank you so much. It's really nice to have conversation with
Thank you. Thank you.